Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with the hilarious story of the valet's petty revenge. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. My uncle's revenge against millionaire a-holes. My uncle worked as a valet for a Las Vegas casino during the 80s and 90s. During his 15-year stint, he never had a complaint about a scratch, dent, or any damage whatsoever to a car he drove, so when VIPs arrived, he was the one who drove and parked their cars. If an exotic or supercar was available in America, chances are my uncle drove it. He also got to meet many celebrities, politicians, and rich folks. As one would expect, some of these celebrities were a-holes, and my uncle had a petty revenge tailored to their level of a-holiness. Minor a-holes, folks that refused to look at my uncle or acknowledge his presence, scoffed at him, things like that. Revenge, readjust their mirrors, replace their favorite radio stations, put their tapes in the wrong case. Major a-holes, racist comments directed towards my uncle, threats. Guy told my uncle if he found the tiniest scratch on his car, he'd have his bodyguards beat him up, stuff like that. Revenge, after driving the car out of sight, uncle would drop his pants and underwear and park the car bare-bottomed. And our second story. Wait for security. For the last 5 years, I've worked in a rural office of a large organization in outback Australia. I work 4 hours away from the main building. The organization receives various amounts of government funding for lots of community programs. As such, they have a main building, several hubs in the same town, and a few hub offices in different towns, like my office. Not part of the story. The organization has a volume of maintenance and security concerns, which they contract out to Security and Maintenance Company, which I'll refer to as Security Company. The contract between Security Company and the organization is very clear regarding expectations of both companies, costs outlined, and burden of costs relating to oversights, important for later. The contract is renegotiated every 3 years and is profitable for Security Company if all goes well. Security Company was in charge of maintenance and security for main office and all offices within 20 kilometers of the main office. I have a few friends across the organization, and we meet up for drinks when I'm required to work in main office, which is about 2 to 3 times a year. During my first visit to the main office in 2018, as usual, I met with a few friends: Aaron, account department, Kevin, contract department, and John, manager of a hub. For the story, I need to explain John manages a hub that's required to be staffed 24/7, 8 workers a shift, 3 shifts a day. Hub's located in a crappy part of town known for violence, drugs, and theft. As such, workers require security present during shift change to make sure workers get to and from cars without issue. It's company policy, as workers have been mugged in the past. Over a few drinks, John told us that security co-appointed a new manager that oversees security for the hubs. I'll call him Butthole. Butthole was hired after his predecessor retired. Management and Security Company can receive a bonus each year if their department runs at a profit. Before Butthole, security ran smoothly and turned small bonus for manager, wanting a bigger bonus. Butthole decided to reduce his department costs by hiring less guards. This affected John's staff, as security guards were not always present during shift change. John spoke to Butthole, who promptly responded with, "If your workers have to wait, then so be it. We'll get there when we get there. Do I tell you how to manage your staff? No. Then bugger off and let me run mine." John was just venting, as he was annoyed at this situation. Kevin broke out the biggest smile and said if you play your cards right, you can really F Butthole over. Kevin explained how Security Company is expected to reimburse the organization any costs resulting from negligence or oversight on Security Company's behalf, something Butthole's probably not aware of. At this point, Aaron starts laughing and said if employees can't leave because it's too unsafe, then they're entitled to get paid until they can leave, including overtime. This overtime would be considered a reimbursement cost according to the contract. You could see the light bulb go off in John's head as an evil smile creeped on his face, and he said, "We'll wait for security like Butthole said." The next part John told me via phone calls over the coming months. John sent Butthole an email informing him that the lack of security is causing a financial concern for John's department as workers get overtime until security guards arrive. Butthole replied with, "I'll keep it in mind." Confirming receipt of the email, for the next month, John emailed Butthole daily with shift change times and told his employees to log when security arrived, as that's when they clock off. Security would always arrive 1 to 3 hours late, one night not even showing. This caused a massive amount of overtime for workers, and due to industrial relations laws, casual workers were rostered on to cover shifts that assigned workers were no longer allowed to work, minimum 16-hour break between shifts in this field. All in all, payroll in John's department was up by $50K in 1 month. John was called into the CEO's office for this budget blowout along with Aaron, account rep. CEO: John, explain why this month's payroll is over by $50K. John: because employees had to stay back and wait for security. They can't leave work until security arrives, and since Butthole arrived, they're always late or not showing up. CEO: what? And the workers can't walk themselves to the car? Aaron: sir, this site requires security due to the location and risk of assault, and regarding the pay, employees are entitled to be paid if they're unable to leave the site. CEO: well, crap, what can we do about this? We can't keep this up. John: is security co-responsible for reimbursement for any costs resulting from negligence or oversight? Aaron: I believe so, CEO. You planned this, didn't you, John? John said nothing as he handed CEO a folder with every email he sent Butthole. In the end, security company repaid the $50K, Butthole lost his bonus, and more security guards were hired. I'm very surprised Butthole didn't lose his job over this. And our next story. I want a divorce, but I'll live with you forever. So in this situation, there's Pete, the dad, Selma, the mom, and my friend who I'll call Robin. Pete and Selma are in their mid-60s. One of my best friends has a mother, Selma. She's GD ridiculous and a frickin' child. She's also insane. Anyway, Pete's an engineer and has worked very hard his whole life. He's a good man, drinks a little too much, but not in a detrimental way. I'd drink too if I had to live with Selma. Selma never worked. She raised their only daughter, Robin, and that was it. She's been 30 years since Robin needed to be raised, but Selma never got off her butt and did anything, ever. Don't get me wrong, raising kids is a hard job, but Robin's always been very mature and basically raised herself from the age of 10. There is zero reason Selma couldn't get a job. Pete worked his butt off to provide for his family, paid off the house, paid for everything, and put the daughter through university. He's a very kind man. One day, Selma decides she wants a divorce. They got married young and really didn't get along, but just stuck together for whatever reason. Pete wants to keep the house as he's about to retire, so he gives Selma a big payout, his life savings, and a monthly support check. You know, she deserves it for watching Oprah for the last 30 years. She owns a house in another country, so she takes her windfall and goes down there to live. While down there, she gets a junkie boyfriend. Keep in mind she's in her 60s and doesn't use drugs, and he proceeds to rack up Pete's credit cards and spends the windfall. Selma never earned any money, so she really doesn't have any concept of money. She just let some stranger spend 20 years of Pete's savings in about a month or two. So Selma's junkie boyfriend lives it up, amassing thousands of dollars in credit card debt for Pete to pay off. It happened really fast, so Pete couldn't stop it, and now he has to postpone his retirement. Now Selma's moved back in with Pete. For years now, she still wants to be divorced, she still wants her check, but Canada has better health care, so she needs to live here a certain amount. I think it's 5 months per year to keep that going. So now Pete pays her alimony after paying for her most of his life. She lives with him, but he pays all the bills. He's also slowly trying to pay off the credit card debt from Selma's boyfriend, and he pays for all the groceries, cooks, and does all the chores while working full-time to afford all of this. Selma despises him for it and resents everything he's ever done. She's unapologetic and hates Pete for ruining her life, even though she could have left at any time. Most of you by now are thinking Pete's the world's biggest sucker. But in fact, he's just so kind that he knows if he turfs out Selma, she'll probably not make it on her own. She has health issues and big mental issues, so Pete loves his daughter so much that he puts up with this disgusting situation to keep her mother alive and safe. The injustice here just makes my blood boil, and when I see them together, she just cuts him down all the time. Imagine being such a piece of garbage. You can be the world's biggest leech and still think the other person is the jerk in the situation. The daughter needs to push her dad to stop letting this leech latch onto him. And our last story. So you're drunk, mean, and the law can't touch you? Let's see about that. When I was younger, I used to work in a big manor, almost a palace, surrounded by a lot of park and woods. To be able to afford the upkeeping of the estate, the residents only used a small part of the house and garden. The rest was rented out for weddings and such. It was a beautiful location, but very difficult to get to by public transport, so most guests arrived by car. Most weddings would have the ceremony, then a big dinner with the silver cutlery and all that, and then a party which could go on till 1 in the morning. I was an all-around employee, bringing out drinks, attending to the bar, and preparing and bringing out finger foods for the evening party. With an open bar at most weddings, people would usually drink more than they intended to, but unless it seemed dangerous, we would pretend we didn't know when they left in their car late at night, or we arranged some taxis to be there. One evening, we had a wedding from some rich kids. He just finished college, and he invited all his college mates and she her friends. The family was long gone, and these people drank way too much and became very rude. They felt like they owned the world with their college degrees and their parents being some rich CEO or whatever. The more they drank, the more they insulted the staff, drew mustaches and boobs on the old paintings in the manor, and even taking over the bar. They even tried to get into the kitchen, but the chef was wielding his knives, saving us all. The manager had words with the organizing party a few times, but they told us they could do whatever they wanted since they rented the place and could afford whatever damage. They told us with their parents in high places, we couldn't touch them, even by law. Fine, let's see about that. My manager called the cops and told them there was a party, drinking a lot that evening, and they all came by car, driving themselves, coming from the estate. When the party was over, around 1 and the last people left the building, we closed up and went to the gates through the forest where we could see cops ready with alcohol tests and a lot of backup. While the party left the estate, slowly the police picked them up on the other side, driving the drunk guests to the police station and parking the cars around back so no one would notice. The whole week the estate was closed due to renovations, and the party had to wait to get their cars back. I guess there were about 80 guests, of which only a few passed the alcohol test. Don't know what happened to the rest of them, but it certainly made us feel better while we were cleaning up their mess. Well done. You may have saved a dozen or more innocent lives, too. Hey, thank you guys for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.